The reason for anyone's success is because they have a whole group of people who are scaffolding and augmenting and supporting them through it. And I will take that to my grave.
Hi, Kanika. Welcome to the Bold Moves How Did You Know podcast. I am so thrilled you're here and for this conversation.
Thank you, Kristen. It is my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
When I think about 2013, that is 13 years ago, and we've just reconnected late last year. So there's been a gap of over a decade in knowing each other, but we reconnected just like old friends. And I know that's because of who you are. And that's exactly what I wanted to have this conversation today, because you're somebody who really values genuine relationships. And I could tell that from meeting you all those years ago and then meeting you again, just a short while ago. What really stood out to me was the relationships that you talked about as you were filling me in on your career. So I had to invite you on the podcast today and have this conversation around mentorship.
Amazing. Thank you. And yes, I love that we go way back. I still remember Love Notary and
Yes.
how you
Yes.
started. And to think now we have spouses and kids in the picture, we're
Isn't that
totally
crazy?
different women now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. We are so different in terms of how we've evolved and become more adult and doing life in a much more real way.
Yeah.
But the essence of who we are is the same, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's what I love
Yes.
about.
Absolutely. And then you just gravitate towards those who feel comfortable and are your own. I'm excited to be on the show with you, and I am cheering for you. And
No.
yes, let's get into all things mentorship.
Mentorship is just a really important conversation for this audience of bold movers, because in all of the interviews I've done with bold movers, there's always a who that is critical to the success of the bold move. So,
Yes.
someone who has helped bridge a gap in knowledge and connecting them to someone they need to know, and especially for me too, the borrowed confidence. So, borrowed confidence when they might be feeling self doubt or fear of moving forward. We're going to get into it and your perspective on all of this, but I would love our listeners to learn more about you from you. So,
Aw.
do you mind sharing your story? And I think it'd be cool if you shared it with the lens of how mentorship has inspired you and helped you along your way.
Yes, sure. So my name is Kanika Chadda-Gupta, and I began my career as a television anchor for CNN International. And I was actually posted to India. So, though I was born there, I grew up in the US and went back. And my parents were like, "This is backwards. What are you doing?" But it was such an amazing training ground for me because I know you might have mentioned in the intro, but I covered the 26/11 terror attacks and Slumdog Millionaire's Oscar win and was on red carpets and live shots and had my own show called Eat Tonight. And I moved back to the States, got married, had my 3 kids in 18 months.
Wow.
So twins plus 1 after an ectopic pregnancy. And then I launched That's Total Mom Sense because I started listening to podcasts out there and felt like I wanted to be in the world of parenting, but with a new spin. I wanted, especially my core audience of women and moms, to realize that we have a gut instinct, our sixth sense, that should be our North Star in life. And it was just all sorts of conversations and reminders from celebrities to someone who I know from way back and happens to be a therapist or a child development expert share why we should trust this gut instinct. And now mentorship. I take a cue from Arlen Hamilton. She's been on my show. She is a prolific author and a venture capitalist. And she has fought against all odds because she is a woman and she's a woman of color. She's Black and she is queer. So she has had like all these things that she had to like kind of barriers that she had to
Mhm.
overcome. She says in her book, It's About Damn Time, that she doesn't believe in self made. And I completely agree. There is no such thing. The reason for anyone's success is because they have a whole group of people who are scaffolding and augmenting and supporting them through it. And I will take that to my grave. I feel like there's just no such thing. So for me, I had mentors throughout. Early on in my time at CNN, it was actually, I'll take it back. I interned at NBC. My mentor, Willard Shepard, he's still with NBC in Miami, is the head of the consumer investigative unit where I interned after my grad school and earning my master's. I learned from him how to just think on your feet. We were always on the road chasing stories. We covered a murder case and a mortgage fraud case. Like it just ran the gamut. Yeah. And he said, go abroad. And I listened to him
Mhm.
because they said, I want to work for a big market. I had these aspirations of being on air. And he said, times are changing. It's the 2000s. It's not, 1990 anymore. And I'm thinking through your lens and what you bring to the table. And he said, because you're bilingual
Mhm.
and you feel at home in a different market like India, where television is booming. There's BBC, CNN, Times now owned by Reuters. Go out there and you make your mark there. And I love that he set me on the path because I could have actually accepted a job in El Paso, Texas, and it
Mm.
completely changed the trajectory of my career to move abroad. Um, Another mentor of mine is Sarah Harden. She is the former CEO of Hello Sunshine, and she built that media platform from scratch with Reese Witherspoon. She was in it from day one. They hand selected her to lead. And she was someone I relied on in the very early days of when I launched my podcast. I said, it's called That's Total Nonsense. I want to also have men on my show and dads on my show. Am I
Mhm.
alienating them? Do I change the
Mhm.
title? She
Mhm.
said, no, your core audience is moms,
Mhm.
and that's your nucleus. If it also includes millennials
Yeah.
and then it includes, dads, and that's actually ancillary to the nucleus.
Mhm.
So it's not discounting in any way. And I kept the name. So, like, there's so many different people along my path
Mhm.
that ushered me
Mm.
forward, and that is not lost on me.
I'm so glad that you went through that history because so much of what you were saying gave me additional questions to ask you about mentorship. And, you use this metaphor of scaffolding. And oftentimes when I think about mentors, I think about wind beneath the wings too, because it
Mm.
keeps you floating up. It's like, it's so easy for me to get down on myself. But the minute I can pick up the phone and talk to somebody who sometimes believes in me more than I believe in me, it gives
Yeah.
me that extra oomph, right?
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what you said about the quote that inspired you, the self-made quote. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as being self-made. When did you hear that quote, learn about that quote? Yeah, I'm just so curious about how early on that got instilled into your being.
Yes. Well, I came across it when I was doing my research on Arlen Hamilton and I read her books. And it was 2 years ago that I read it, but I have been living it all my life. It's interesting. Whenever I get on stage or in front of a room, I start with a thank you. I'm doing shout outs before I even get to the meat of the talk because I feel like I have to acknowledge why the hell I'm there in the first place. And it wasn't because I just, I'm so hardworking and I got here myself. No, someone said my name in a room that I wasn't in. And that is so important to acknowledge. And sometimes it's advocating for yourself that got you there. And I'm so intentional about this now because, as an example, when I was at Mom 2.0, it's an annual conference. They've been doing their summit 17 years now. I had to do a panel. I was moderating a panel of 5 women, and we were in Nashville. And I had a friend, her name is Samantha Danielle, and she was in the audience. She's a Nashville local, a native, and she is a Black millennial mom of 3, single mom. And she has a blog, and it's all about the nuance that she faces and navigating the digital age and raising her kids. And we worked together on a project for Meta called Parenting in the Digital Age. So it was so fun to have like both of us riff about all that entails, from phones to social media and with young kids, old kids, all of it. But when I was on that stage, I said, I'm going to give a shout out to someone in the room, because me, along with the 5 panelists, we have a light shining on us and everyone's listening to us. We have a microphone in our hand, but there's hundreds of people in this room and they want to be up here, and they took their time out of their day to come learn from the session. And so I said, I want us all to shout out someone in this room and what they're building. And so I acknowledged Samantha and I was like, Samantha, get up. Let's wave to the crowd. She's from Nashville, y'all. Like, let's meet her, go up to her after. And then I went down the line, and it was like so many amazing women. One of them was, her name is Shannon Doherty, not from 90210, but she has a TikTok following of like a million plus. And then she shouted out Julie Cole of Mabel's Labels. Like, there was so much love in the room because everyone had someone to shout out. And now other people were like standing up and feeling like a warm hug. And that's another kind of realm to what self-made isn't. It's, let's make sure we're passing on the torch, we're shining a light, like, because we all got here from some special reason, hard work, luck, all of it, but let's keep it going.
I mean, the amount of relationships you've built and who you pour into and they pour into you is incredible. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited to sort of peel back the layers here on this, probably this playbook that comes a little bit as an intuition for you, but for other people, mentorship and approaching mentorship and finding mentors, and what do we talk about? I mean, there's so many different questions that people have around mentoring. And I just know that you're the perfect person to help shed some light on this really important topic, specifically because a bold move does require you to invest in relationships that can help and support you, and obviously also give back as well. So,
Yes.
with that being said, you mentioned Sarah Harden,
Yeah.
the former CEO of Hello Sunshine, which is, if y'all don't know, Reese Witherspoon's media company. So, highly respected woman at a media company, and probably had some really great advice to share around building a media company as you were building yours. How did you approach Sarah to become your mentor, Kanika?
Ooh, okay. This was so special. And I have to say, the way that I do business, I did not go to B school, is relationships. I just put so much stock and investment in my relationships and giving back. And that is what has helped me grow and yielded positive outcomes. With Sarah, it was actually through, let's see, I'm going to take it really back. There's a former agent. He was with UTA. His name is Suchir Batra. So Suchir and I are friends. We met during my CNN days because I wanted to get representation in LA. I thought I was going to cover entertainment and switch gears, potentially work for Showbiz Tonight or E News or something in LA. And so he met me when I was like in my 20s, like mid 20s. And we stayed in touch. And he's also a dad of 3. He knows my husband's Neil. And so we were talking around this time. It was just right when COVID hit. And I told him about the show and we're talking about representation. And he said, I have a great contact for you, Sarah Harden. She's just been tapped to like be
Yeah.
CEO. It's so new of Reese's new venture. And her kids go to the same school as my kids. And I was like, oh, amazing. I would love to meet her. So I did my research and I was like, oh my goodness, this woman is so accomplished. Like she's from Australia, moved out here to go to Harvard, BCG, Otter Media. Like there was just a trajectory that she charted that was like, she was basically made for a role like that because she could hold her own in so many different senior level positions in strategy and in the media world. And so I was like, okay, this is awesome. I have to meet her. So I did all my research and then I asked if we could do a pre-call. She's like, absolutely. It's just 20 minutes on the phone. So we're chit-chatting, and on that phone call, I said, tell me about your family and growing up in Australia. I wanted to learn more about who she was as a person more than the resume. And she said, I'm actually a twin. I have a twin brother. And then I have a huge extended family. And her parents had remarried. And so it was like just huge extended family. And I was like, oh my goodness, tell me everything about being a boy girl twin because I have boy girl twins. And I like, please tell me the future. And
Yes.
and I was like, are you guys, do you have like telepathic tendencies? Like, let's get into it. And it was such a fun conversation. And, I said, like, tell me what I can expect because mine are little right now. They're like, they were 2 at the time, and they're like 9 now. But yeah, it was like talking to a girlfriend.
Mm,
And so we talked about that and then about what the show would cover, the talking points. Um, and what she's working on, what's lighting her up, and the vision for the company, and how she's really creating a platform for women's narratives.
mhm,
And it's from the above the line to below the line roles in film and TV and publishing. So I was like, I want to cover it all. So
and this is an episode for that Total Mom Sense,
yes,
right? That's how okay.
yes,
That was
yeah,
the initial conversation started because you had invited her to be on the podcast. Is that
exactly,
right? Okay,
exactly.
so I think also just to break in here, because I think when you can ask a mentor or somebody you admire to be part of a project that you're working on, Kanika, it sounds like that was the in to get a
Yes,
conversation started.
absolutely. It started with an email.
Mhm,
I'd love to interview you on my show.
mhm,
And then let's do a pre-call. And then that's when we got to just
mhm.
gab and get personal. And
Yeah.
then we had an amazing podcast because I
Okay.
was like, I am going to knock it out of the park.
I'm gonna
Every
show my skills.
Yes, yes. And every question, every moment, every like it had to hit and it did. And we got to go deep and go there really fast.
Mhm,
I think also because it was around COVID when everyone was like, how are you really? So we did that. And we got to really connect about her mom.
mm,
I'm really close to my mom. It was at that time that there was some health issues going on, and only now do we know that, my mom
mm,
has Alzheimer's and it's been 5 years and she's nonverbal and just reeling from that. If anyone else is in that place, I'm willing to just go there. I love to be able to like relate to somebody at that level. And for Sarah, she was just 23 when her mom passed of cancer.
mm,
And she was an ICU nurse. She was just the most nurturing yet real mom. She was a single mom, so she taught how she balanced her checkbook and made rent and taught her kids that at such a young age. She was like, this is stuff you're going to need to know anyway. And
Mhm.
I'm bringing you in now as like tweens and teens because you're going to have to like support yourself and pay your own way when you decide what you're going to go on to do. And I remember she also shared how when she was on her deathbed, she told her kids that, like, as sad as it is, like, my death is going to be your fuel. It's going to make something out of you. And I'm sad that I'm not going to be there to see it. But I just know that you'll have this moment and me
Mhm.
to just put yourself out there and prove it.
Mm.
Prove it to yourself, to everyone. You can do it. Dream big and go do it. And then they did. And they
Wow.
did. And so we bonded about that and we stayed in touch. And I had asked her for another call after the podcast was done, sealed, aired. And that's when I had my ask. And I said, I feel so close to you. And we've gotten so deep so fast. And
Mhm.
I admire you immensely.
Mm.
You are literally the only person that is rewriting media for women today. And it would be like an honor to
Mm.
just powwow with you and learn from you regularly. And so I would love for you to be my mentor.
Mm.
And she said yes. She was like, absolutely. I see how this aligns. And right away, this is a testament to how she was as a leader
Mm.
and an executor. After the call, she put Jess, her EA,
Mhm.
executive assistant, on a thread with us and said, please get Kanika on my calendar for 30 minutes every month.
Mm. I was gonna ask you, so once she agreed, how
Mhm.
do you move that into a pro I'm calling it a program, but you know what I mean? Like something that is maybe a little more formal and
Yeah.
it's not just loosey-goosey, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people who need mentorship are looking for structure.
Right.
Um, but it
Right.
sounds like she was the one who took that initiative. But if she hadn't, Kanika, what would have been your approach?
Yes, great question. So I would have done something similar. I would have said, okay, what are next steps here? Can we loop in your
Mhm.
assistant to take this forward? And what kind of cadence feels right for you? Like just ask.
Yeah, sure.
And then if she said, "Oh, monthly is fine. We can do monthly."
Mm.
And the same kind of first
Mm.
week of the month type thing. And so ask them that, and it might be less than that. It might just be like, "Let's do quarterly." And
Mm.
with every quarter, we check in and you come to me
Mm.
with what you're building, what you're working on so that I know what I'm sinking my teeth in. And so, yeah, monthly was the best though, because it just allowed me to um, have these wins and things
Mm.
that I was building on a weekly basis. And I had a running doc that we shared. And I would show that to her. I'd say, like, this is where I'm speaking. This is some guests I have lined up.
Right.
I want to build a brand new series called this. I want to add some new revenue streams. And I like, these are the advertisers that I think would be a fit. And what I love about her was that it was really all strategy.
Mhm.
And I made sure not to abuse that
Mhm.
and just use her for connections.
Mm. 'Cause
We
that would have been easy to do with somebody high profile like that.
Yeah, we didn't
But
even
you
go there. We didn't
yeah.
I didn't ask her for any connections at all.
Mhm.
And in
Mhm.
fact, once I was already in the world, I made my own.
Mm.
I didn't say like, "Oh, connect me to Reese." And when at first I thought like, "Oh, maybe that could happen," but I
Mhm.
realized quickly that it's like, "No, it's not about that.
Mm.
It's about her cultivating the soil for where I'm gonna grow."
Mm.
And all of it things just
Yeah.
kind of happen on its own. It's amazing how that works out though.
What a great analogy that this person helped you cultivate the soil for your
Yeah.
own growth. That visual is really powerful. And I also think that probably at the point in time during your conversations, she would mention a connection if she was interested or wanted to connect you to that person without you
Yes.
so in
Yes.
other words, when she thought it was the right moment, she would do that
Exactly.
for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why we had such a healthy relationship this way,
Mhm.
because I didn't come with all my ass. When you're a mentee,
Mhm.
I think
Mm.
mentors actually have like a adverse reaction, to
Mm.
like, oh my God, they want me for my network and they're just gonna like
Yeah.
use the shit out of it. And it's not,
Yeah.
it's really not about that. In
Mhm.
fact, I would connect her to those I knew she needed to meet. So I always asked her after we'd go through our little brainstorming session, I'd say, "Can I make a connection for you? Or is there any support that you
Mm.
need from me?" And
Mm.
she would always politely be like, "No, no." But then I just was like, I got to get proactive with this because I need to give back in this way and in
Mm.
business. And
Mm.
even though I'm not some hi-fi executive, like I can still hook it up and I want to. you know?
Well, and this is such a great insight because there are a lot of people ask questions about I am not
Yeah.
as far along in my career or, whatever the mentorship they're seeking. Obviously, they're seeking a mentor because that mentor is further along
Right.
than they are and they need their help more than maybe it's perceived that that other person needs their help. And what I'm hearing from you, Kanika, is that you also bring strengths to this
Yes.
conversation. And so you can leverage your own strengths to provide that reciprocal part of the relationship. So for you, it sounds, and I, of course, so many people and you have so many different connections because of who you are. And for some other people, maybe they can help out with a
Right.
project that the mentor
Yes.
has that they're working on, but they can't find the time for. So I do think there's ways that mentees can step in and provide that reciprocal value, even though you perceive yourself as not being as far along as that person
Exactly,
is.
exactly, and I actually relate this to an Aesop's fable. It was
Yeah.
one that I remember, like, reading to the kids, and I was like, "This is exactly mentorship." So, it's the lion and the mouse, and the lion at first taunts the mouse saying, like, "You could never help me. You're just, like, the most
Yeah.
insignificant in the jungle, like, I'm the king, and you're a
Yeah.
nobody." And he gets caught by a hunter's net. And then again,
Yeah.
it's just like he's hanging from a tree in a net. And then the mouse decides, like, I think you could use my help now. And the lion's like, yes, absolutely. So he uses his, like two front
Right.
teeth to gnaw at the net and sets him free. And so I think of that analogy that it's like,
Mm.
even if
Yeah,
there's a
perfect.
lion, the mouse is worthy and the mouse can still be
Mm.
useful and help in their own way. And yeah, I had done this with just a few of the um, executives that I had connected Sarah to, and one that just made me so happy. But a friend of mine, um,
Mhm.
Allison Reedy Williamson, she is the director of DEI at Yahoo and is the president
Mm.
of Makers Women. We met at a networking event, and that's a whole other story. But like we hit it off, same thing, and bonding on a personal note that I found myself speaking at Makers Women and love Allison. Allison and Sarah, if you're listening, I adore you both so much. And then I said, you know what? She is leading a women's platform. She is leading a women's platform. You guys need to know
Mm.
each other. And I set that
Mm.
up and
Mm.
they hit
Nice.
it off. And it's just like Yahoo, Hello Sunshine. How amazing. How amazing.
Mm.
So you can bring almost like forces together.
Yeah.
And they would never have thought like to like reach out to this person or find them on LinkedIn or through their own circles. It's like the mentee can do it.
I got a listener question. that I want to read to you. And I think we've already touched on a lot of things that are answers to this question, but there might be something else
Okay.
that you think of. Phil asked, there are so many women navigating layoffs or career uncertainty right now who deeply want
Mhm.
mentorship, but hesitate to reach out because they fear being a burden, asking too much, are dealing with imposter syndrome, or not having enough to offer in return. What advice would you give to women on how to approach mentorship in a way that feels authentic, confident, and relationship driven rather than transactional?
Wow. Okay. It's a long game. This is a long game because you are in a time of need. And whether you're pivoting or seeking a new job, it's, that is the need of the hour. And that's totally understandable. But again, don't lose sight of the fact that you have something to give. And the only way a mentorship relationship works, I feel, is when the mentee
Mhm.
gives, and then asks.
Mm.
And so if there's like you mentioned earlier, Kristen, like you have a project that you're working on. Is there something like a passion project outside of your work that you need help on? I'd love to help. I'm a great PM and I want to manage that for you. Or if you get personal, kids. If they also have kids and
Mm.
it's like, actually, my kid loves baseball and your kid is learning and is younger and mine's further along. So my kid could help
Mhm.
coach yours or could tutor yours
Mhm.
and tutor on
Mhm.
Zoom. It could be something totally different that's so out of the box that you're like, how did you even connect that? But it's you decided to give and give first and cultivate a
Mm.
friendship. And only
Mm.
then does it go into like, okay, now let's talk strategy. Now, I also just need some help and direction.
Mhm.
But I think it
Mhm.
needs to be like you giving, and even a podcast and an interview is
Mhm.
an invitation for that. Like, I'm going to help share your ideas
Mm.
and life story with the world. And so there's just so many ways that it's like you have the offer first.
Mm. I think that's a really great exercise to do, which is sit down and think about all of the strengths that you have and what you can offer to somebody who you admire or you want to be mentored by, um, before you reach out
Mhm.
so that you can, you know, uh, help them or give them new ideas, as you're reaching out. That could be a nice way in. But I agree with you, Kanika, too. It is a long game. And I think, the acuteness of being right there in the moment of need makes it feel really
Yeah.
urgent. But, ultimately, if you do look at this for the long term, the return will be so much
Yes.
greater.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it will be so much more
Yes.
powerful.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. Fill the gap where you see one, and then you're just irreplaceable as like a friend.
yeah, I love that point from you too about let's try to come at it from a human to
Mhm.
human level and not a
Yeah.
personal to professional.
Mhm.
I think people like to operate with other people they know, like, and trust. And so it's just about, yeah, what are those commonalities that you share and how can you go deep with them quick, so that they realize you're more alike than they would have even
Yes,
imagined.
exactly.
To wrap up this conversation around mentorship, what are some of the powerful ways that Sarah particularly has helped propel your bold move because of her mentorship?
Mm. She's been so fair and has allowed my gifts to shine in their own merit. And as an example, when Shine Away happened last year, it's their annual conference. They've only had 3. Um, I had I had met her in person in her office, and I said, I want to speak at Shine Away. I can actually make it this year because it's always in October, which is conference season. My mom's birthday is also in October. Like there's times where I'm at home in Maryland. Like the dates just weren't syncing up for the first two. And she was really fair. She said, "That's amazing. I'm glad that the dates worked for you. Send me your reel and all your clips." And I have this. I have a speaker's agent, Gravity Speakers, Nosheen now. So I brought Nosheen into the thread and we sent my professional reel and media kit to her. And she said, "I'm going to pass it on to the producers. And if they like you, they'll reach out." So I love that because it wasn't I put a word in and it's gonna happen. It's like it's just so fair and just. It's like she did what she could in her power. And of course, that holds so much weight. The producers are gonna be like, "Oh, this is coming from her." However, if they wanted to say no, she lets them that they're in that lane. She's managing the deals, not who's gonna be on stage. So, she's like, "I'm not even trying to be the decision maker on this, and let's see where it goes." And so that's how yeah, that was the biggest opportunity that she teed up for me, and then also let it be based on my merit.
I was about to say that, Kanika, that she actually allowed you to next level your game and to put together the best version of what you could bring to the
Yeah.
table to that particular event without circumventing because it was just a straight connection and you're
Yes.
automatically in. She let you move through the process of what it looks like to be a top tier
Yeah.
moderator. And I am sure that you learned so much having to go through all of those
Yeah.
hoops. And I'm sure the nervousness, I mean, talk about the feelings that came up for you as you were probably going through that, but you're doing it scared anyway. You're just doing it
Yes, yes,
scared.
and that's the bold move right there. She basically teed up my bold move. And it was like, wow, I okay, I'm in this process. I didn't hear from anyone for like maybe a few weeks until the conference. So I didn't think I got it. I was like, "Oh shit, I haven't heard any
Yeah.
feedback, so that means I didn't
Yeah.
get it." And then one fine day, I get an email in my inbox from the producer saying, "We have selected you. You are going to be interviewing Jenny Garth and Jen Hatmaker on a topic called Reinvention with Grace, which touches on motherhood because you're a
Mhm.
mom podcaster." And it just they selected who they wanted with each guest. And yeah, it was like it was made for me. I wouldn't have planned it any better than it transpired. And then I did my best, knocked that out of the park. We had an organic conversation, no
Yeah.
teleprompter, like all of that moderating was straight from the heart. But yeah, it's just you have to also surrender a little bit and not be like, "I want this so bad. I want this so bad. And I need my mentor to hook it up." Because at the end of the day, if you have a good mentor, he or she's also going to realize that it's not nepotism that is
Mhm.
opening the
Mhm.
door. Let
Mhm.
the mentee do their thing and let everybody else see, like, "Oh, yeah, they're so deserving."
What a great way to leave off on this topic of mentorship. I mean,
Yes,
we could
yes,
go on for
yeah.
hours. There's so much, yeah, about being the mentor as well as the mentee. But hopefully, our listeners have gotten enough great insights that they can pull into their next step from this conversation today,
Mhm.
Kanika. I'm so grateful that you are here to share this with all of us. I am more than grateful that we've reconnected over the last couple of months. Where can listeners connect with you and
Oh,
find
thank
you?
you, Kristen. You can find me on Instagram. I'm most active there. My handle is at Kanika Chadda-Gupta, also on Threads. And my website is that'stotalmomsense.com. And you can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And I have a course that I launched recently that's also on the site. It's called In Moderation. Just click on course. And that is my masterclass on moderating interviews, firesides, and panels.
Everybody go follow Kanika right now. Check out everything she's doing. You will learn so much from her. And I hope that you love this episode. If you did, please show us some love in return with a 5-star review. Kanika, if people wanted to leave a review today, and we hope they do, what would be a prompt to give them to leave in the review today?
Share your favorite piece of advice that we covered in this dialogue that we had. Like, what was it for you? I want to know.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.